to see you. How are you?
I'm well, and yourself?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. Thank you for having me.
I'm glad you're joining us. And you've been invited to today because I believe you enjoy creating things.
Yes, with these beautiful hands of mine.
Exactly. And I hope that you guys also enjoy creating things. So I've brought something which I don't think you're used to using to create.
Okay, I'm ready.
Are you ready?
Yes,
Are you ready?
Let's
Okay. And here it is.
Go. Wow.
Okay, so
Okay,
this.
what's that?
This is my very own Play-Doh.
Oh, you made this.
I made this and then I store it in this handy bag in the fridge and
Okay.
then it stays nice and soft.
Wow.
How cool is that?
This is awesome.
Okay.
I'd love to make some pizza.
Okay,
pizza.
come. Let's. You can have a bit. I'll have a bit.
Okay, that's yours. This is mine.
Exactly. So when you feel your stuff squishing through your fingers, right? You say you're making a pizza.
Yes, I am.
Okay, I think I'm gonna go with.
I feel like
some,
being Italian today.
Italian. Well, I'm gonna go with a fruit.
Okay.
You know, we've been talking about how God is creative.
Okay.
He created everything, right?
He created you, so he must be creative.
Very creative, and you too. And giraffes, elephants, rhinos, so many different things, right? I wonder what went through his head when he was creating stuff.
Sorry, that was a flop.
It's not too late. You can still finish your pizza.
Yeah.
And it says that he put Adam and Eve in the garden and he said that there was a fruit that they shouldn't eat. What kind of fruit do you think it was?
A pear?
You think it might have been a pear. People often talk about it as an apple.
Okay.
Some people think it was maybe more like a pomegranate.
Okay.
So we'll pretend this was the kind of fruit that Adam and Eve weren't supposed to eat, right? And when God created people, he created with his hands,
Yup.
just like you and I are doing right now.
So he literally did this.
He literally did this with the clay to
Wow.
create Adam, the first man.
That's so awesome.
Isn't it amazing?
Yeah, it is.
So we're going to get into some worship and a story in a moment.
Okay.
But if you like, I'll show you how to make this Play-Doh with my recipe a little later.
That would be awesome.
Would you do it for yourself?
Yeah, I'd want to do it with my son as well. I think.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
He'd love to get his hands dirty.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
So I hope you're going to join us. Let's get into some praise and worship. Pay close attention during the story, and a little later, I'll show you how to make some Play-Doh too.
Stay tuned. Till next time.
Come on, hands up. Do you see what I see? Do you see what I see? Oh, I see lightning, I hear thunder.
Tani, this is so boring. It's supposed to be fun, but it's boring.
Okay, well then how can we make it fun?
Isn't there supposed to usually be like a song or something?
Yeah. You know what?
Yeah.
Remember Sunday?
Which one?
Well, that Sunday that we learned that memory verse, Psalm 100 verse 3.
Oh, you mean like long ago?
Yeah.
And it went like, know that the Lord is God.
Yeah?
He made us and we belong to him. We are his people.
Yeah.
Okay, we could try.
Okay.
Okay, so we're just gonna go clap, hit, clap, hit. Okay, you guys can follow us. You can do the same. Find a partner and do the same with us, and then just repeat after me. Are you ready? Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Well, you ready, Teddy?
Yes, I'm of course ready.
Okay,
Let's
let's
go. Okay.
1, 2, 3. Know that the Lord is God.
Know that the Lord is God.
He made us and we belong to him.
He made us and we belong to him.
We are his people.
We are his people.
Psalm 100 verse 3.
Psalm 100 verse 3.
Oh shucks. Okay, we're gonna do a double clap at the end.
Yes.
So we're gonna go Psalm 100 verse 3. Boom, clap. Okay, did you guys get that? Let's try one more time to practice.
Yeah.
And let's go. Boom, clap, boom, clap. Know that the Lord is God.
Know that the Lord is God.
He made us and we belong to him.
He made us and we belong to him.
We are his people.
We are his people.
Psalm 100 verse 3.
Psalm 100 verse 3. There
Yay!
we go!
That was awesome.
Yeah.
We hope you guys enjoyed doing that with a friend.
Yeah, you guys must go home and practice that.
And even do it with another friend. I think we're going to practice some more. Hey, Teddy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we need some work. Okay, let's go. Know that the Lord is God. Know that the Lord is God. He made us. We belong to him.
He made us and we belong to him.
Hey kids, and welcome back to our new theme, Getting to Know God in Genesis. Today, I'm Jenny and I will be speaking to you about Adam and his wife, Eve. So now this is after the 7 days of creation, and God decided, you know what? He wants to put a man, in the garden to look after every single thing that he has created. And so you guessed it, he creates Adam. But the cool thing about the way God creates Adam is he forms him from the clay. In some Bibles, you'll read that he formed him from the soil on the ground. And to top it all off, to add that personal touch, God breathes life into Adam, which is why we are different from animals, because animals have, they have a soul and they also have a body. But as people, we have a spirit, soul, and body. And the thing about our spirits is that we need them. They're the strongest parts of us because that is a part of us that is able to connect with God. So God creates Adam from the earth and then he breathes his spirit into him. But now, imagine being in a huge garden, or imagine being the only person on planet Earth. It would get lonely, right? So God looks at Adam and he's like, it's not good for man to be alone. So he creates, all the animals on the ground. And then he looks at Adam and he's like, no, he needs a helper. So you guessed it. God puts Adam to sleep and then he takes one of his ribs. And from that rib, he forms his wife, Eve. And now Adam and Eve are in the garden. They're having a good time. And God tells them, listen, you can go anywhere. You can eat anything in this garden except from that one tree. Yeah, that tree. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So that's the only rule they have. But otherwise, they can have a blast in this garden. Oh, and remember, when God created Adam and Eve, they were naked. So now Adam and Eve are living in this garden and they're having a good time. One day they're chilling, Eve is looking around, having a great time. And then guess what? A serpent comes to her. Serpent is like a name for a creature that, crawls on the ground but doesn't have legs. We know it as a snake today. So a serpent approaches Eve and he's like, Eve, listen, are you really going to listen to God? Are you seriously going to have everything in this garden except from that one tree? And the serpent tricks Eve. Eve eats a fruit from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. She shares it with her husband, Adam, because that's what, good people do. They share. She shares it with Adam. And then, Lord and behold, they notice that they're naked because they've sinned. So now they're hiding from God. And God is like, Adam, Eve, where are you? Where are you? And they're hiding. So God asks them, why are you hiding? And then he realizes, oh, I see what's happening here. You did what I asked you not to do. So what do we learn from this? One thing, sin separates us from God. Adam and Eve did something bad, and what did they do? They didn't go to God and say, God, we did something bad. Instead, they hid from him. But what we need to remember is that God created us for relationship with him. Because when Adam and Eve were in the garden, they weren't just alone. God was present. And it even went as far as talking to them during the day or at night. He was actually present. He had a good and close relationship with Adam and Eve. But as soon as they went against what God did, as soon as they sinned against God, it created a separation between the two, or three, Adam, Eve, and God. That's three, right? Awesome. So God seeks for us to find him when we mess up, okay? So when you do something bad, maybe you lie to your friend, or maybe you take something that you weren't supposed to take, God doesn't want you to feel so guilty and then you run away and you hide from him. Instead, God wants you to speak to him and confess what you've done to him, because we were created to have relationship with God. So what happens after Adam and Eve sin? God, being the great father that he is to all of us, he goes and he kills an animal so that he's able to make clothing for Adam and Eve out of that animal's skin. And that was the very first blood sacrifice that we ever read and know about. And it was a picture of what was going to happen later on, years and years and years later, with Jesus when he came to be the last and ultimate sacrifice for all of us, so that we could have that close and good relationship with God again. Why? Because God created us to have relationship with him. And not just that, but he created us in his image as well. Remember, that is why we have a spirit, but our dogs and our cats and our hamsters don't have a spirit. We have a spirit because God breathed life into Adam. And that's really important because it makes us even closer to God than the rest of creation. But then when we read on in the story, we find out that, okay, cool. Adam and Eve now have clothing made out of animal skin. But unfortunately, because they did something bad, they had to leave the presence of God. They had to exit the garden, and they had to go and start a new life. And later on, they have children, Cain, Abel, and Seth. But listen, you're going to learn all about that next week. So make sure you tune in next week, okay? I want to see you here next week. See you next time, guys. Bye.
Hi there, boys and girls. I'm so glad you're joining me today for a lesson on how to make Play-Doh. So now we're going to do this over some heat a little later. So if you're going to do this at home, make sure that you've got an adult that'll help you, especially with the stove, okay? And for younger kids, this is amazing, really good to get your fingers strong. And for older kids, it's quite a fun thing to play with and to make maybe as a gift. So you are going to need some flour, 2 mugs worth, some water, also 2 mugs worth, 2/3 of a mug of salt, 1 tablespoon of cream of tartar, and 2 tablespoons of oil. And so if you'll give me a moment, I'm going to measure those out for us now. So once you put all your ingredients in a pot, you can stir them so that they start to combine, and then you put it on a low to medium heat. On my stove, I normally do it on about a 3 or a 4, and then you let it heat up slowly. And what happens when you heat it up is that the flour mixes with the water, and then it starts to get thick. It's a little bit like making a white sauce or a cheese sauce as well. And when you stir it, you need to keep stirring so that it doesn't burn on the bottom and so that it gets thick until it's thick all the way through. And you have to keep on stirring until it makes like a ball in the middle. And when you stir it, it pulls away from the bottom and the side. I've done this a little bit earlier so that you could see what it looks like. So when it comes out of the pot, let it cool down a little bit because it's quite hot. And then you need to knead it That's Knead. That's how people used to make flour and bread in the old days. They would push it and make sure that it gets thoroughly mixed together and put it back into a ball. And if you want to make bread or any of the fancy doughs, you can do that as well. And then what we're going to do with this, once it's nice and smooth, is you can add some food coloring to make it into different colors. So what I like to do sometimes is break it into a few different pieces and then do different colors for each of the different pieces. And be careful with food coloring, because just a little bit goes a very long way. So just 1 or 2 drops is all that you'll need. And then we're going to mix it so that it gets nicely mixed into the Play-Doh, and then you'll see it starts to bring the colors through. Depending on how dark you want it, you can add a little more color, a little at a time, to make sure that you get the right color. So once you've made sure that your Play-Doh is smoothly mixed and kneaded together, and you've added some coloring to make the different colors, you can look after this by keeping it in the fridge in a sealed container. You can put it in a plastic packet, make sure that there's no air getting in, and it will keep nice and fresh in the fridge for many weeks. You can play with it on a couple of different days. And so I hope that you're going to enjoy making some Play-Doh. And now let's talk a little bit about today's lesson. We've heard about how God made everything. He made people, He made animals, He made the earth. But the thing that He did differently when He made people, it says that He didn't just speak it into being. It says He bent down and He took some dirt, He took some mud, and He formed Adam out of the mud, out of the soil. And I like to think about that when I play with Play-Doh. I imagine God with His hands taking some of the mud and forming it into a person. So depending on what you want to do, maybe what you could do is take some Play-Doh and you can see if you can form it into the shape of a person. You can do heads and arms and legs and make it into the shape of a person. Or maybe what you might want to do is to take a piece of Play-Doh and see if you can make it into a face. Maybe you can copy your friend's face and see if you can make it into something that is recognizable. I'm not so good at this, but how about that? There's the head and 2 arms and 2 legs. And do you remember when God created Adam? It says that He breathed life into him. And when I hold Play-Doh in my hands, firstly, there's no way this is as good as a person. And secondly, I couldn't ever breathe life into something like this. And that's what we learn from God, is that He is the only one who can bring life to matter. And He gives life to each one of us. When He breathes into us, He gives us His life. And the reason why He gives us His life is because He's made us in His image. He made man and woman for relationship with Him. And so when you're playing with your Play-Doh, I want you to remember that God doesn't just create to make something for fun. He created you and me so that we could have a relationship with Him and get to know Him. And I hope that you'll remember that when you're creating your faces or your people next time you're playing with clay or with dough. Have a great week, and let's take a moment and have a look at some questions to see how much you can remember from today's lesson.